Okay, it's another lesson on the connection between class and crime, but now we're going to be looking at middle class crime. So we're going to learn about middle class crime to understand why it's not taken seriously, and we're going to think. Keywords are blue collar, occupation, bribery, fraud, image, publicity, theft, business, normal, safety, avoidance, victimless, ID theft, culture and fear. Blue collar and white collar. Yeah. Blue collar is a more American phrase for the working class. White collar means middle class. So when we say middle class crime, we're talking about crime the middle class commit that's connected to their work in some way. So we're not talking about a doctor mugging people in his spare time. Yeah? We're not talking about a teacher being a burglar in the evening. We're talking about the crimes you commit in some way it's connected to your middle class job. Yeah? That's what we're talking about. So, your occupation. It seems like bribery and fraud. Yeah? So that's what white collar crime is. Crimes committed by the middle class that are in some way connected to their work. They do it at work. Yeah? And there's three types. There's occupational crime. Crime that you commit whilst you're doing your job. Yeah? Crimes you commit for yourself. So if you take a bribe from somebody that goes into your pocket, that's an occupational crime. So for example, if you work for the government and it's your decision what tank the army buys next, and there's 3 companies making tanks, yeah? And company A offers to give you thousands and thousands of pounds if you'll buy their tank, and you agree, yeah? That's an occupational crime. Yeah? That's a fraud. Then there's corporate crime. This is crime you commit, again it's part of your job, but you commit it for your company. Yeah, you help your company by committing crime. So examples of this would be, let's say if you don't install some safety equipment in your factory because the safety equipment is expensive. That's a corporate crime. Then people die, that's a corporate crime. If you cover up sensors, if you put a plastic bag over a sensor in the factory, so it's unsafe to work there, but the sensors don't go off, that's a corporate crime. The beneficiary of the crime is the company, and you, because the company will like you. So occupational crime, crimes at work for your benefit. Corporate crime, crimes at work for the company's benefit. Yeah? So another one of these, occupational crime. If the manager of the Lloyds Bank on the Central Parade was stealing the money, that would be an occupational crime. Computer crime is obviously quite a new thing. People using computers to defraud people, send spam, all that sort of thing. These are white-collar crimes, definitely to do with your educational background, being skilled at using these things. ID theft, that sort of thing, stealing someone's identity and then being able to use that to commit more crimes, to defraud them, to take their money, to empty their bank account. Computer crime. So these are examples of white-collar crime. But the big question in sociology is, well, how come we are less bothered about the crimes? How come we aren't afraid of them? How come we don't even know about them? Big example. Fraud. Benefit fraud, people taking benefits, costs about £500 million a year, a lot of money. There are thousands of investigations and thousands of prosecutions every year. Yeah. There are adverts on telly, all that business about getting people who are committing benefit fraud. Tax fraud, people who don't pay their tax, costs about £6 billion at least. There are maybe 100 investigations a year and 30 prosecutions. So a much bigger offence but far fewer investigations for it. Yeah, so how come we're just not bothered about these as much? Well, first off, there's detection. Often these crimes, we just don't know about them. They never get into the papers and the media don't know. So, for example, if the bank manager at Lloyd's steals some money, and then Lloyd's discover this, they do not call the police. They quietly sack the manager. Because if they called the police, the bank would look bad. So often big companies cover up these crimes. Also, they're just difficult to detect. You can't tell often. If the example I gave you where somebody's taken a bribe from a tank company, it's very difficult to discover these crimes. We are less bothered because these crimes appear to be victimless. There's no one held, no one stabbed, no one's robbed, no one knows. Yeah? Think of the crime I talked about. No one knows they've been a victim. Or some people say, well, there are no victims. Not entirely true. Let's think about our tank example again. Let's say the company that gets a contract has a terrible tank that blows up when it falls down a ditch. Who are the victims? Well, the soldiers who are using it. 3, we are less bothered because of fear. We're simply not afraid of these crimes because they don't involve violence. Because they involve blokes in suits. Yeah? They don't involve lads with hoodies and knives. We're not afraid. The media report these crimes a lot. They don't report these crimes. Therefore, we just don't know about them, and therefore, there's no moral panic about them. And finally, there's the legal system. The legal system tends to be more lenient on these crimes because there's no violence involved, and also it's thought because the judges and the lawyers, they're middle class. They are less frightened themselves, they're less prejudiced themselves against middle class defendants. They think, oh, that person's like me, they speak like me, they dress like me, they're no threat, let's let them off. Then compare that to a working class lad goes to court, oh, he's scum, prison for him. So there's lots of possible reasons why we are less bothered about these middle class crimes.